Imagine this, it's February 1st, 1959. 9 experienced hikers, all students or graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, are trekking through the desolate snow-covered Ural Mountains in Russia. These aren't amateurs. They're seasoned, skilled mountaineers, fully prepared for the extreme Siberian winter. Led by Igor Dyatlov, the group is on a journey to conquer Otorten, a mountain whose name in the local Mansi language translates to "don't go there." A chilling premonition, perhaps. As night falls, worsening weather forces them to set up camp on the slopes of another mountain, Kolatsyakol, or Dead Mountain. They pitch their tent, share a meal, and settle in for the night, documenting their good spirits in their journals. This is the last night any of them will ever see. What happened next has become one of the most baffling and terrifying mysteries of the 20th century. Weeks later, when the group failed to check in, a search party was sent out. What they found was a scene of utter chaos and confusion. Their tent, pitched on the snowy slope, was empty. But it hadn't been unzipped. It had been slashed and ripped open from the inside. It was a clear sign that whatever happened, it caused the hikers to flee in a state of absolute terror, cutting their way out into the deadly cold. Their footprints, a trail of panicked desperation, led away from the relative safety of the tent and down towards a nearby forest. Incredibly, many of the footprints were made by bare feet, or feet clad only in socks. In temperatures plunging to -30°C, they had run from their shelter without even stopping to put on their boots or winter coats. Why? What could possibly be more terrifying than freezing to death? The first 2 bodies were discovered about a mile away, near a large cedar tree at the edge of the forest. A small makeshift fire had been built, but the branches on the cedar tree above them were broken up to a height of 5 meters. It looked as if they had frantically tried to climb the tree. Were they trying to get a better view of something? Or were they trying to escape something on the ground? As the search continued, 3 more bodies were found between the cedar tree and the camp, including that of Igor Dyatlov. They appeared to have been trying to make their way back up the slope to the tent, a final futile attempt to return to safety. They were found in poses that suggested they simply collapsed from exhaustion and hypothermia. So far, the story seemed tragic, but perhaps explainable by some sudden event, like an avalanche that caused a panicked, disoriented flight. But the real mystery was just beginning to unfold. It took another 2 months for the remaining 4 hikers to be found, buried under 4 meters of snow in a ravine deeper in the forest. And the condition of their bodies turned the entire investigation on its head. These hikers had suffered catastrophic internal injuries. One had a severely fractured skull. One of the women was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips. Yet strangely, there were almost no external wounds on their bodies. No soft tissue damage to indicate they had been attacked or struck with incredible force. How could they sustain such devastating internal trauma without any outward signs of a fight or a fall? The official investigation was stumped. The medical examiner concluded that the force required to cause such injuries was immense, yet couldn't explain its source. The oddities kept piling up. There were no signs of other people in the area. No animal tracks. The initial theory of an avalanche was largely dismissed. The location wasn't a typical avalanche path, and the scene didn't show the characteristic signs of one. The tent was partially standing, and items left behind were undisturbed. The investigation also noted something called paradoxical undressing. Some of the hikers found later were wearing pieces of clothing taken from their deceased comrades, a desperate act to stay warm. But this phenomenon is also a known symptom of severe hypothermia, where victims, in a state of confusion, feel a burning sensation and remove their clothes. Was it a rational act of survival or a symptom of a mind failing in the freezing cold? The official Soviet investigation concluded that the hikers died from a compelling natural force, an incredibly vague conclusion that satisfied no one and only deepened the mystery. The case was abruptly closed, and the files were classified, fueling decades of speculation and conspiracy theories. What was this compelling natural force? The theories ranged from the mundane to the truly bizarre. Could it have been an attack by the local Mansi people, angered by the hikers trespassing on their sacred lands? This was quickly ruled out. The nature of the injuries didn't match an attack, and the Mansi were known to be peaceful. What about an escaped prisoner or a secret military operation? The area was remote, but not entirely cut off. Then there's the paranormal. Theories about UFOs and alien encounters became popular. partly because other hiking groups and locals reported seeing strange orange spheres or lights in the sky over the northern Urals around the same time. Could the hikers have witnessed something they weren't supposed to see? One piece of evidence that adds fuel to this fire is that some of the hikers' clothing was found to have traces of radiation. The levels weren't high enough to be lethal, but their presence was unexplained. Was it from a secret military weapon test? Or something not of this world? Another fascinating and more scientific theory points to infrasound. This is sound at a frequency so low it's inaudible to the human ear, but it can be generated by certain wind patterns, like a Kármán vortex street, which could have occurred around the mountain. Exposure to infrasound can induce feelings of intense panic, dread, nausea, and shortness of breath. Could a sudden blast of powerful infrasound have driven the hikers into a state of irrational terror, causing them to slash their way out of the tent and flee for their lives, completely unaware of their actions? This could explain the sudden panicked escape, but it doesn't explain the massive internal injuries or the radiation. In recent years, with the original files declassified, new investigations have been launched. In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case, concluding that a slab avalanche was the most likely cause. They proposed that a small delayed avalanche hit the tent, not burying it completely, but causing initial injuries and forcing a hurried evacuation. The hikers, possibly injured and disoriented, fled downhill. In the darkness and blizzard, they got separated. Some froze by the fire, others tried to return to the tent, and the last 4 fell into the ravine, where the weight of the snow and the fall caused their severe injuries. This theory provides a logical sequence of events, but it still leaves questions. Veteran mountaineers argue that the signs just don't add up for an avalanche. And it doesn't explain the strange lights in the sky or why the investigation was so secretive for so long. Every clue in the Dyatlov Pass incident seems to create more questions than answers. The slashed tent, the barefoot escape into the freezing night, the bizarre and brutal injuries with no external signs of trauma, the missing tongue, the radioactive clothing, the reported lights in the sky, the final cryptic photos from the hiker's camera, one of which appears to be an abstract blur of light, taken in the darkness. Each detail is a piece of a puzzle that just won't fit together. 60 years later, we are no closer to a definitive answer. It's a perfect storm of strange coincidences and chilling, unexplainable facts. A story of 9 capable people who walked into the wilderness and met an end so horrific and so strange that it continues to haunt us. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains a testament to the fact that sometimes the truth is far more terrifying and mysterious than any fiction. And perhaps, some secrets are meant to stay buried in the snow. Thanks for watching, and if you have your own theory, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more journeys into the unknown.